Hello, everyone, and welcome. Here we are again, another day, another topic. But this is very exciting because I have Coach Molly with me today. Molly, welcome. Thank you for being
Thank
here.
you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here today and share.
Yes, and a lot of the time we don't talk about teenagers having guilt or shame, and that's our topic today. Most teens don't walk around saying "I feel shame," right? They usually walk around saying nothing at all. Or,
Correct.
or if you ask them, they'll be like, "Nothing, nothing."
Correct.
Leave me alone, right?
Nothing.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
I'm fine. Yes, yes. But they do look unmotivated. They may look like they're distracted, but
Mhm.
sometimes they even look like they don't care. Right? A
That
lot of
is really
adults,
true.
right? A lot of adults have this attitude that teens just don't care.
Hmm.
But underneath all of that, whatever that they're showing us, whatever we're interpreting, there is often a quiet voice that's saying, "I'm not enough.
Hmm.
So why even try? Or I'm not good enough at this. Why would I try? I've failed before, so why would I try?" Right? There's this quiet
Hmm.
voice saying that. When they're saying that, we look at them and say, "Oh, you look so distracted. You look so unmotivated. You just don't care, do you?" Right? As parents, we say that, and sometimes as teachers,
Hmm.
we can also look and see that's how
Hmm.
it appears. So today we don't want to talk about the behavior. We want to talk about what's really underneath it. That's why I have Molly
Hmm.
here. We're going to look at some of these things from a different perspective than behavior, and they just don't care. That doesn't make sense. How can a teen not care, right? Because it's their life. There's something going on internally that's making them like that. It's not like they
It,
don't care.
it it is their life, but so much of it has been done unknowingly,
Yeah.
unwittingly as a child. And some of that unknowingly, unwittingly comes from parents. I think
Yes.
a lot of it comes from society. And so by the time these kids are teens, they have a history of feeling beat down. I'm worthless. I can't do things right. Um, but I and so they're now stuck. And then of course when they're teens, their brains are trying to rewire and they can't rewire because they're stuck in all this stuff that they've been carrying for umpteen years that they can't even put a label on it,
Yes.
because it just lurks in their brains. I mean, shame is, I saw a great analogy to where if we look at shame and like we put it in a petri dish and what feeds the shame, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's so many things that feed it that we aren't even really aware of.
So
And
when you're
yeah.
working with teens, right? When you're working with teens, what does guilt and shame actually look like in real life? What do they show up as for you?
Well, first of all, let me talk about the difference between guilt and shame because
Yeah,
they're two very different things.
yeah, tell us.
So, guilt is, gosh, I what I did was bad. I screwed, I screwed that up,
Yeah,
okay? Um but I can evaluate what was done and it can actually drive positive behavior,
yeah,
right? Oh wow. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I messed that up. I ran
yes,
through that stoplight. Oh man. But shame becomes to where it's I'm bad. I'm
yes,
worthless. The focus becomes on the self and not the behavior. So guilt is about the behavior. Ooh, I ran that stoplight, for example. That was bad.
yes,
And shame is like, oh my gosh, I can't drive. I'm worthless. I screwed up and
yeah,
I'm not a good driver. Do you
yeah,
see the difference between the
yes,
two? Yeah.
yes,
So guilt can be like, oh, that can be a motivator. Gee, I better watch what I'm doing next time when I'm on the road. Gee, I
yes,
better watch that light.
yes,
Shame is like, I'm done.
yeah,
Shame is about feeling flawed and unworthy, and so guilt can lead to shame. A lot of guilt can lead to shame, but there's a real difference even in the brain between how guilt works and how shame works.
yes. Absolutely. And it's a good point to point out to parents and sometimes teachers too, that sometimes all of this in teenagers looks the same though.
It does. So when we look at things that happen that, let's say, withdrawn, a teen often is withdrawn.
Yes.
They go scroll endlessly on their phone. They procrastinate. They avoid. They do these things. And sometimes those can be indicators of shame, being like, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid, so why even do this project? I'm going to avoid it altogether because I can't do it. Why study for the test if I'm going to fail?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So that you go, well, that's really different. Procrastination isn't laziness. I mean,
Yes.
there are times that it can be, but more often than not, it's not.
It's
It's
masking something else, right? It's masking something.
correct. Correct. So it's up to us as parents to ask questions, right?
Yes.
And we can get to that more. But shame is what's really interesting too, is shame brings a real fear of disconnection. So
Yeah.
again, when teens feel incredible shame, they will feel disconnected. So they are disconnected.
Yes.
I am unlovable. I don't belong.
Yes.
Um, it's crazy. Before we hopped on, I just was on Facebook for a minute, and somebody in our area had posed a question about an accelerated program, and somebody responded, and it brought tears to my eyes that there's academic bullying going on in second and third grade. So can you imagine from the
Yeah.
time that you were a first, second grader, all of a sudden you go, oh, I'm not good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. It's happening a lot more than we
Mm-hmm.
think.
Mm-hmm.
Bullying, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I heard another coach tell me yesterday that there was these girls making lies in the classroom, like there's boys and girls, and grade 2 or grade 3 she was in, she said that the girls were against this one boy and making stuff up, and they thought he was doing this really, but eventually they got caught, the girls, that they were lying about this boy in the classroom, you see. So that's that ganging up, right? Like a little bit, you have a couple of friends you like, and then you can just say mean things to others. But look at the online space. Look at the online space. Adults are doing that. How many
Oh,
you have adults saying like comments on our post or whatever? It's sometimes
oh,
it's mean,
it, it's it's mind-boggling to me the amount of shame that people are putting out there. I saw a post the other day about I didn't read the article, but it was an actor that was getting so much shame about certain things that he's like, I don't even want to go out. And I'm like,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah,
wow.
yeah. There's a lot going on like that because people think behind the screen they're different people or something.
Hmm.
They have this they don't feel like if you were to meet somebody they wouldn't say that to you, right? But online we tend to say things differently.
Online, we could feel like we can say whatever we want, but I think too, it's like there's this, we've gone past, there's this kind of line to where we've gone past what is okay. Like
Yeah,
even now it's like, oh, that kid's fat.
yeah,
And they feel no shame in saying that because it's like, well, he is,
yeah,
or who cares, or why not?
yeah,
Or, I mean, there's no empathy.
yeah. And there's no filter almost. They just gonna
There's no
people are just
filter.
want people just want to say what they want to say.
Yeah. Without any,
They don't see how they could hurt the other person, right? They're just
no,
some.
and they don't really care if it does,
Yeah, yeah,
which is okay, we have a problem.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
what are some behaviors parents see that are actually coming from shame but mistaken as laziness or lack of effort?
Well, that's again where that shame carries over to all parts of their life. So that's where they go, go hide in their room. Okay. They can scroll endlessly on the phone because it takes their brain away from whatever it is that they're feeling bad about. But that can also feed it as well. Um, they can sleep a lot more. It's basically, I want to avoid life. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Procrastination, which we talked about. Why even do this if I'm going to fail anyway? You
Yes.
know, um,
Lot
and
of lot
maybe
of logic though. Some of them are very logical. Your brain is very capable of producing stories that are very logical, right?
Oh, so what's really happened? Because I was doing some research going, okay, what is the physiology in our brain? And I think this really could be helpful when we go, this is a physiological, yeah, I can't say physiology event. I mean, our brains feel emotions. There's chemicals that are created in our bodies, in our brains. And so when we feel shame, it actually happens in the amygdala of our brain. And the amygdala is in charge of feeling fear and feeling threats. Okay. And so when faced with shame, the amygdala becomes very highly activated, leading to actual physiological changes like our heart rate goes up, our blood pressure goes up. And it actually, we start to reduce our rationale for actually rational thinking instead of going, oh my gosh, I ran through that stoplight and I'm like, oh, I'm horrible, I'm so bad, I'm blah 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 blah, because it prevents us from actually thinking rational and going, wait a minute, it was just one little stoplight here, okay. But that, when we've been faced with this over and over and over and over again, our amygdala, this response takes over and it literally shuts down that evaluation process. And so, time after time, that's going to lead to that over generalized self appraisal of, I'm awful, I'm bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
it's a real brain thing.
And what's happening inside the teen system when they feel shame? And why does it shut down instead of pushing? Like why does their brain shut down when they feel shame instead of just pushing through and trying harder?
Because shame, again, is that thing where it takes the whole person, that I'm all bad. So
Yes.
why try if I'm all bad?
So the identity is attached to this shame, but
Hmm.
guilt is
Hmm.
just a feeling they're getting. But over time, it can compound to become shame, right? Guilt.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So it's interesting. I was reading. So let's say, as a little kid, your parent or babysitter is taking you for a walk, and all of a sudden, the little kid may go, "Oh, I'm going to run out to the street and chase the ball," and the parent or caregiver yells at, "Ah!" And the kid freezes, right? And they go, "Oh, okay." And
Yeah.
then you just pick up the kid and go, don't ever do that again, right? That
Yeah.
is actually a reinforcement there of the shame. And the kid will respond with crying. And then you're like, why, what do you quit crying? What do you have to cry about?
Yeah.
And instead of offering reassurance, hey, the reason why, you know, yeah, let's watch for cars. And you don't have to have a logical discussion with a 5-year-old, but we just need to go, hey, I was scared you would get hurt. And I yelled at you, and let me give you a hug.
Yeah. Yeah. Just being present, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So why does telling a teen to try harder or just focus actually make things worse when shame is present?
Because all that does is feed the shame. because
Yes.
that's judgment. So there's three things that really feed shame, and one of those is judgment.
Yep.
So when we go, why don't you try harder? That's a
Yes.
judgment statement.
Yep.
You know,
Saying that
you
you're not
can
trying
do
hard.
better. Why
Yep.
didn't you study harder? Why didn't you practice more? I expect you to get a goal this game. I expect you to win this time.
Yes.
Okay. And we think we're, you know, and I'm guilty. I wish I could say I was, yeah, well, you know, I have two kids in their 20s and thankfully they've survived, you know, but it's like, it's hard because sometimes we mistakenly say things that we think are meant to be caring, are meant to be motivating, and they're not.
A lot of the time, it does come from a good place, unless you're very,
Mhm.
if you're
Yeah,
a tough parent, you're having trouble, then it's harder. But most parents are pretty good, right? And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
noticing that
I mean,
completely.
nobody, I don't think, intends to be a bad parent. I think there's a couple, and they're very few and far between, right? But nobody means to be a bad parent.
Yeah, and then all comes down from I want my kid to do well, right?
Oh, absolutely. And the hard part is we go, if we think we need to be perfect parents, well, in order to be perfect parents, we have to have perfect children.
Yes.
Therefore, our kid
So,
has to get A's. Our kid has to, you know, be the next best baseball player, football player, whatever it is. I ran into a gal that a summer ago, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'd love to have you help out with my summer camp." And she goes, "I can't. My parent expects me to get a perfect SAT score, and I have to study all summer."
yep.
Like, I think there's good intention behind the parent, right? Of course, we want
Yes.
our kids to do well,
Yes.
but wow,
I know. Dedication. Talk about dedications during summertime. But what's
yeah.
one thing that what is one thing that a parent might be doing now with good intention that actually is adding to the pressure or shame without realizing it?
I think that's again those statements that we say,
Yeah.
like, "You can do better."
Yeah.
You know, why didn't you study harder? Why'd you
Yes.
do that way? You know, that's a good one. Why'd you do that way?
Yeah.
And not watch
I
this.
don't know.
Why did you do that way? I'm really curious
Yeah.
versus why'd you do that way?
Yeah.
It's sometimes just a difference in the tone. One
Yes.
is judgmental and one is curious.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I was
Absolutely.
talking to a parent a while ago, and her son had spray painted some things around the house he shouldn't have, like on the cement. And she was like, "God, I just wanted to know what was in his head," and go, "Why? What?" And she goes, "Why'd you do that?" And I
Yes.
go, "Did you ask with curiosity or did you ask with judgment?" And she was like,
Yeah. Yeah. Usually we're mad, so we're gonna yell.
"Oh, yeah."
It's not gonna
I
be
do the same thing, honestly, with my dog. I take my dog out for a walk, and if I'm feeling stressed,
yeah.
I get really irritated very quickly at my dog.
Yeah.
Why are you stopping to sniff again? Why can't you heel? Why can't you come? And I'm like, "Geez,
Yeah.
Molly,
Yeah. We want
take a breath."
yeah, no, we also want to guide them, right? I mean, not the dog, but the kids, right? But if they're not listening, then you're gonna get frustrated pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And then you
yeah.
start doubting your parenting and start comparing to
Mhm.
other parents too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, because then you go, "Oh, why isn't my kid listening to me? I bet other parents don't have this problem. It must be just me and my kid."
Yes, of course. We only know our side. We don't know even other side, right? There's always
Right.
another side.
Yeah.
So, so what do teens actually need in the classroom these days? Do you feel like for feeling safe and to re-engage instead of slowing down or shutting down?
Oh, um,
What do
I
they
would
need?
say, I would say it's almost like we need to revamp our whole education system,
Yeah,
but
we have to
uh,
do that.
that's a whole nother thing.
Topic.
Um,
Yeah.
It's really hard right now because we have these expectations of our students to get A's, to do better on tests, to perform better. But we're not allowing the time for questions. In a sense, it's like kids just learn this, do this to pass the test.
Yeah, and
Instead
they're
of like,
memorizing it, right? And they're
yeah,
also memorizing it. They're not solving it,
yeah,
right?
correct. There's no critical thinking
Yeah,
involved.
yeah.
It's just, answer the question.
And that's what we were marked for, getting the right answer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so then if I answer the question wrong, then it's like, oh, well, I can feel guilt. And if I get enough of that, then I can go into shame. I think there's a lot of pressure on kids, not only at school from in sort of grades, but also from society. There's so much on social media to look a certain way, to perform a certain way, to dress a certain way. I can always tell what trend is when, if I'm sitting at Starbucks when school gets out and all of a sudden groups of teens come in, I'm like, oh, that's the trend. They all want to be themselves, but yet they're all wearing the same thing, right?
Yes. And these girls are wearing such short tops too, just to cover this, like their tummies showing and everything.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, I don't know. I don't want to sound like old school, but sometimes school having a uniform is not a bad idea.
I don't think it's a bad. In fact, there are times that I think I wish we did have uniforms because I think it would cut out a lot
Yeah, I think so
of,
too.
yeah, I think
And
it would cut
sometimes
out.
some schools have it. Like last year, my son went to a school with a uniform, but they never made it mandatory.
Okay.
It became very like on and off.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, he never even used it.
Right, right.
But
And it's
regular.
interesting, other countries, public schools, private schools, everybody wears uniforms.
Yeah,
And I think there's some good things to that.
yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Plus, you know that like all the people who are successful, they always say, right? I could not, I stop making too many decisions that I don't need to make in a day. And one of the decision, I don't know if you ever go to get a clothes out of your closet, you know how many times we have to look at something to get it right, that right one. So there's a lot of time that's being wasted. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of successful people say, cut down the decisions you have to make all day
Mm-hmm.
long. Just make the ones that are more powerful.
I, I remember, a few years ago when we had the choice of the grocery store, they'd go, would you like paper or plastic today? And
Yeah,
I'd be like, oh my gosh, I just finished a day of teaching. I can't make one more decision.
yeah,
So I don't care. Just put it in a bag so I can go home.
yeah, yeah. And at the end of that day, you're gonna be irritated too, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
It
when
was,
does it become an identity? This guilt and shame. Does it ever become an identity of the person?
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, it happens. I like that analogy I saw of the petri dish because, again, me and my science background, it's like it starts out small.
Yeah,
And then if it's allowed to grow, that becomes the identity. And then it's like, I'm all bad. I'm
yeah,
worthless instead of this little action over here. And it's really hard to break out of that.
yeah. Where am I? I have a few more questions. How are you feeling? Good?
I feel
Clean?
good. Yeah, I'm feeling good. Um, so teens need in these moments of shame. So the real antidote of shame is empathy. Empathy is the biggest antidote killer of shame there is. And that means that that's where we need to learn to ask as a parent those better questions out of curiosity instead of judgment. Teens need to feel safe to re-engage versus shut down. So shame wants you to feel alone. But when you have empathy, no one's alone. So we need to learn to identify those emotions. We need to teach our children, and really it starts with ourselves. We need to teach ourselves what is shame? When do I feel shame? And we need to identify that in ourselves as a parent, as a human being. And we need to feel that difference between that shame and that guilt and understand the difference between those two so that we can put a label on it. And then we can help our teen put a label on it. And then you can go, oh, here it is. And I actually, one of my tools that I use is like, I can then, if I'm feeling guilty or if I'm feeling shame, I can take a look at it. I can go, oh, here it is out here. Do I need to feel this way? Do I want to feel this way? Not particularly, and then I do this practice of just blowing it off.
Yes, that makes sense. You know what I forgot to do? Hence, I'm feeling a bit not settled. Is this? I forgot to do it. I just remembered.
Yes.
So I'm feeling tired too. I'm like, I haven't grounded myself, right? We haven't done that. So let's start this. Have you had any chance of talking to your brain about the past today or yesterday, this week?
I do often.
Yes. And how long does it take you to pull yourself back to the present?
It really varies. I will be honest and just say I am coming out of like a couple months of almost like this real kind of shame, guilt thing. And finally, and I've worked hard in the sense that I've been using the tools that I know, and it finally going, oh, wow, do I really want to feel this way, or do I like feeling this way? And the answer is no. Do I want to keep feeling this way? No. And what is it preventing me from doing? Well, it's really holding me here. It's holding me down, right? And it's like, I don't want to do that anymore. But the nice thing now for me is I can start to recognize my patterns and my cycles. And I go, and I'm getting better and faster at breaking those.
Yeah. The only thing we can take from the past is the lessons, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing more there. So spending time in the past does nothing to anyone. And then the other place that we like to look at is the future, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how many times did you think about your future today?
I really haven't thought about it today so much. As like I'm just focused on today. Yeah.
So with the future, the only thing we can do is bless it and release it because it's always available to us, but we cannot produce future. Like if I had that power or you had the power, we will predict a lot of things in the world, right? But we don't have that ability to think about we can set some intention as a destination, but you still have to be here and now to do any work. So here in this present moment is where you can learn, which is what we're doing with Coach Molly, and then you can live if you're an adult or young kids, right? It doesn't matter. You need to live. You have to be here and now, and then also you can lead yourself for others. You're here. But if you tried to do that in the past, can you do it? Can you learn in the past? Can you live in the past? Can you lead in the past? No. And same goes to the future, right? So if we let go of both of them, let's let go and release. You look, your hands are free. You can bring yourself now and here. And this is where we begin, right? Always begin from here. And even like we have so many cohorts now, Molly, that's going through the Flow Foundation program. you should see the transformation in their faces after a week or two. Like, just the skin started changing, their way of talking started changing, right? There's just so many things that you can notice because they're allowing themselves to bring themselves here and now instead of living in the past or the future. And which is something that I think we mastered it, didn't we? We
Yeah.
mastered being in the past and the future, except here.
Yes.
And also, if you think about it, past and the future hold us hostage. So if I go there and visit, I don't really have to make a change because outside world has become so chaotic and like so much going on, right? So I can just,
Mhm.
yeah. So if you're thinking about the past, if you're thinking about the future, make sure to bring yourself now and here because this is where it is. So can you give us an exercise that you do that can bring us totally here and now?
Oh, let's see. Goodness. I'm going to teach you one called, I call it postage stamp. And it's really simple, and it's one that can, again, help release those emotions. And so I want everybody to close their eyes, and I want you to think of a moment in time that you feel guilt or shame around. And so picture that in your mind, that moment of feeling guilt and shame, what was happening in that moment. And I want you to take a picture of it. Take a snapshot of it in your mind. Now I want you to take that picture and I want you to turn it black and white. I want you to take all the color out. So literally drain all the color out of that picture. And notice what happens to the energy around that picture when you've drained all the color out of it. So now it's totally black and white, totally grayscale. And now I want you to take that picture that's now black and white, and I want you to shrink it down and keep shrinking it down to the size of a postage stamp. And so you're taking this picture, little teeny picture, it's about an inch by an inch. And I want you to hold it out here. And then I want you to blow it away. And I want you to literally blow it, and you see it going higher and higher, like when you let go of a helium balloon. And you're watching it just drift up to outer space, and you can't see it anymore. And take a nice deep breath. And feel how good it was to actually blow that away. And if it comes back, and that's okay, you just do that practice again. You take that snapshot and you do it again and blow it away again. And because sometimes we have to repeat it a few times, and every time it gets easier to do that. And that's just, I like that one because anybody can do that. Even little kids can do that. And they think it's really fun to be able to think about turning it black and white and blowing it away. And so it also teaches us when we do that, and we're doing it even with somebody, which I think is really powerful, because that's empathy. When we teach our children to do that, when we help somebody else do that, that's really showing empathy. And shame cannot thrive on empathy. In fact, it kills it. And so when we learn to identify those emotions and label them, when teens can actually put a label on it, it actually starts to break that cycle. And then when we use tools like the postage stamp, or we use tools like tapping, and we use tools like talking to your brain and our mantras, that really helps our brains to actually rewire and put in those positive neural pathways. So that becomes our identity shift. So when we can help move a teen from something is wrong with me to something is happening in my system, and I can work on it. It's helping those teens actually recognize the shame and understand the triggers behind it. What is triggering me to feel this way? Oh, well, this happened today. Okay, great. Does that mean I'm worthless? No, that just means that little instance was bad, and I can actually do something about that. I can blow those feelings away. So that when we start to work with shame, we start to, first of all, recognize the shame and understand the triggers. That's step one, right? Step two is really practicing that critical self-awareness. Is this actually true? Is it true that I am worthless? No. Okay. Is getting a perfect score realistic? Maybe, maybe not. If I get a 95, I asked this to my students the other day. If I get a 95, that's an A. Is that good enough? Is that an A? Well, yeah. And they were like, well, 100 could be better. And it's like, it could be, but are you going to be satisfied? Can you allow yourself to feel good with it, with an A? I was so excited because one of my clients was working on a test, and she passed the test, and she was like, you know what? A doctor is a doctor. And I said, yes, because you have to get a certain score to be a doctor. Even if, let's say, you got an 80 out of 100, you're still a doctor versus 100 out of 100. Nobody else knows, right? It's that part of practicing that critical self-awareness of being okay with where you are. Okay? Reach out to somebody. Reach out. Am I sharing my story with somebody I can trust? Is there somebody that I can reach out to that can help me with this? And that's what I love as a coach, is actually working with teens to help them listen to themselves, to actually reiterate what is going on, to help them be that. And then the last step is to actually speak that shame. In other words, ask for what you need. What does your brain need to hear?
Yes.
A lot of times our brain is like, I need to know I'm loved. I need to know I'm okay.
Yeah.
That's what it needs to hear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being seen.
Being seen. And knowing that these emotions are valid. You know, one of my clients was like, is it okay to feel this way? Absolutely. These are your emotions. Now it's a matter of like, let's take a look at them so we know what to do with them. But it is okay to feel betrayed. It is okay to feel guilty. It is even okay to feel shame, but we don't want to let it hang out.
Yeah, too long.
Yeah.
And especially even if you have shame, but if you know why you feel that way, it helps.
Hmm. Hmm.
The why always helps, right?
The why always helps. So that's again those triggers. Why am I feeling this way? Oh, this happened. She said this. My teacher did this. My mom, dad said this. Oh, okay. Wow, that was a trigger. What is that? Does that mean anything? Do we need to carry it further? No. Yeah.
So in terms of if why is there a lot of kids feeling like guilt or shame at this point in time? What is going on, do you think? Because we
I think
hear
a lot, oh boy, that's a I think a lot of it only has to do with our society and social media.
yes.
You know,
Yeah, we just say a lot to each other nowadays, right?
we say a lot to each other. I
Yeah.
think some of it too depends on where you live. Are you in an area where there's, you're expected high achievement, everybody's expected to go to college, everybody's expected to drive a car to school, and not
Yes.
only drive a car to school, but it better be a new car, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think it has to do with your, in a sense, your culture, your where you are, your little micro niche, and then a lot has to do with, again, society and social media out there.
Yes. Have you ever seen a change in teen when that shame starts to lift? Have you seen the shame leave in any teenage lady way at work? How does that
Yeah.
look like?
Oh my gosh. I mean, like I almost tear up. And I just shared, having one of my teens where she didn't get a perfect score on a test, but she passed the test. And she said to me, she goes, a doctor's still a doctor. And I was like, yes, because what she meant was that it, if you pass to be a doctor, you're a doctor, whether you got an 80, a 90, a 95, or 100.
100, yeah.
And it was like, oh my gosh, to hear her say that, because she demands perfection from herself. She's like, I don't want just 100, I want 105.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So to be able to come out of her test and to hear her say that was like, that was huge,
Yes.
um,
Amazing.
one of my other clients was like, I feel like I can be myself and it's okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it starts off like guilt, but then it changes into shame, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unsolved guilt or unmet or we didn't talk about it or we didn't help that feeling, then it
Mm-hmm.
moves into shame.
Yeah.
But shame can be lifted.
Shame can be lifted.
Yes, that's beautiful. So if there's one thing that we're going to take away from today, it is the one thing that we need to understand is that your teens are not lazy. They are just protecting themselves, right? From from things that they've probably already felt guilty about. They already feel guilty about it. That's why they need to protect themselves further,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and then also teens who don't feel safe will always fail because what happens is safety is important, right?
Oh,
Feeling safe.
safety is hugely important.
So that's why
Yeah.
they stop because they don't feel safe enough to express
Yeah.
themselves, so they have to stop. So it's
Yeah.
always important to watch that in your teen as well. And when we shift from pressure to understanding, everything also begins to change, right? In
Mm-hmm.
the teen's life. Because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the time, if you hear your teen talk to you, they will say, "You don't understand me." That's a big statement. They always say, right? A lot of teens say that. You don't understand me. You don't get me. You don't know what I'm going through. It's just like that's what they're saying. They
Mm-hmm.
not feel they're not being understood, so they're gonna say that you don't see my point of view. whatever that is, right?
Whatever that is. And you know what, Kohila, we said the same thing to our parents,
Oh no,
right?
I did too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
then
did.
yeah.
I just
And
want them to leave me
teens today are
alone.
saying the same thing. And I think sometimes as parents, we think we do understand because we've been there,
Yeah,
but we have to remember society is really different today.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
no, we don't understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, we don't understand what it's like to grow up with social media. We don't understand what it's like to grow up with a phone in our hands. I mean, shoot, I remember, phones hanging on the wall, right? You went
Yeah,
and answered the phone, right?
yeah.
It was on the wall or on the kitchen counter. You didn't,
But they had
yeah.
long wires though. They had
Oh,
long.
yeah.
People used to
Yeah.
walk everywhere in the
Yeah.
house.
And remember when we could leave home and we didn't go, oh my God, I left my phone, you know? And now I'm like, oh my gosh, where's my phone? And I'm like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh, wouldn't it be nice to go back to that day where we go, oh,
yeah. I'm just gonna go find this place by myself. Not, I
mhm,
don't need I don't need
mhm,
my GPS. I can just go. Like
mhm,
sometimes I panic if I don't have my phone. It's not like I'm
mhm.
scrolling or anything. It's just like we all got used to it, right? All of us have
We
got used
did.
to it. And then it's like
Yeah.
some part of you is missing. It's like part of me is missing.
Yeah. I saw a comedian the other day do a whole act about that. It was just hilarious because it was sadly funny where he's like, we don't have our phone. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do without my pictures? Oh my gosh, what am I going to do without my emails? Oh my gosh, what am I going to do without Facebook? I mean, it was like, oh my,
Can't scroll.
you
I
know,
can't scroll. I don't know what to do. My fingers are hurting because I need to move them. Like I have something. I need something to do with it, right?
right.
And
We're
then
like,
also when we're at social places, also phone helps you to hide.
oh, absolutely.
So if you
And a
don't have
phone,
it,
I've seen it in restaurants where entire families are sitting here on their phones and the food's in front of them. And I'm
yeah,
like, I mean, because I don't think they know how to talk to each other.
yeah, I know. And then the saddest sadness is why did they come to the restaurant, right? They're not even going to talk to each other. Like, doesn't make sense. That part doesn't make sense to
Somebody
me.
didn't want to fix dinner.
I guess so. This was an amazing conversation. I'm a bit tired today. I don't know if you guys can tell. I am tired. I've been traveling, so in different place, so it makes it a difference, right? So that's why my energy is kind of low today. But that doesn't matter. Molly did an amazing job. She was going for me a little bit. I gave it to you because I couldn't keep up. I was getting like really tired, and I had coffee. I brought coffee too. I drank coffee.
You know what? There are days where you just go, right. And this is such a great thing too, because you go, there's no need to feel guilt or shame around any of that, right? You
Yeah,
just go,
that's
it
why I
is
took
what it
myself
is.
off. I just took myself off and let you go because I couldn't keep up because my brain
Mhm.
was kind of slowing down. I needed to take. So I'm just owning up to it. I don't feel guilty that I had to take a nap.
No, I think this is great. These are times where we go, oh, right. We don't need to feel this. There's
No,
no reason to.
I'm a human. I'm allowed to feel tired. I was actually at a networking event, so it was a whole 3 days of talking to people, and that's a lot of
Wow.
talking.
And where was this?
This is in San Diego. I'm in San Diego. So
Okay. Okay.
I just finished that event and I came. I wanted to be here for our audience and for Molly yourself. So talking is a lot. That's why I was saying, like, sometimes you can hide behind your phone, right? So I had to tell myself and discipline myself before I went, do not take your phone out. You're here to talk to people. So put the phone away. This is my conversation to myself before I went. Like, you're going to talk. Okay. That's the deal. That's why you're here. Go talk.
I feel that, and I know sometimes after I've been in a crowd for a while, like at a conference, I'm just like, whoa, yeah,
It's a lot.
I have to go take a nap.
Yeah, that's what I needed just now, but I can't.
Yeah.
I have to be here. But that's okay because there's 3 days of it, right? You don't understand, like, we don't know how much, like, because since COVID and stuff, like, I've been online so long, so it's for me even harder. Like, it's almost 15 years I've not, I don't work in person, like it's just on these events.
Yeah.
But definitely takes a lot of energy to be among a lot of people.
It does.
Yeah, and
It
we have to be
really
nice to
does.
them. It's the same for kids, right? When they go to school, when they're
It
around all the,
really does.
yeah,
It's really kind of, I'm amazed. I'm kind of in awe how much we expect of our kids from 5 years old to go to school and be with other kids all day long.
yeah,
And then we schlep them off to all these other things during the week.
yeah, activities and everything too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the
And
tiredness
then we
is
give
real.
them a screen, and it's like their brain never has a chance to.
Yeah, and then yeah, and then electronics for the rest of the
Mhm.
time. Get
Mhm.
spiral too. Yeah, it was an amazing conversation. If you guys have any comments or anything for us, any questions, share with us. But as Molly said, do you want to wrap up, Molly? Because I know you had a few points that were beautiful. You want to say
Um,
finalize what you were saying so that they can have.
yeah. And I think it comes down to, something else to think about is when we expect ourselves to be perfect, when we expect our kids to be perfect, when perfectionism exists, shame is lurking right around the corner.
Yes.
And we don't need perfect teens.
No. I
We
don't think
need
any of us needs
healthy,
to be
happy.
perfect. I'm not perfect today. I just
Oh,
don't. I was not perfect today on this meeting because didn't have the enough energy that I usually have.
and that's okay. And none of it, we have this thing that we have to be perfect all the time. I know I have a hard time as a teacher, because I teach a couple days a week of like, I'm supposed to have the perfect lesson. I'm supposed to have the perfect emails. I'm supposed to have all my assignments be absolutely perfect. And it's like, oh my, yeah. Anyways, we just feel like we have to be perfect parents. And that means that in order to be perfect parents, we have to have perfect teens. Whew.
There's lots, a lot of
There's
perfect.
lots.
There's
And
too
if
many
we can
perfect even
let
to
go
perfect.
of that,
We're saying
then
so many times perfect that it's making me too perfect to even talk.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But just to be, what can we give parents to be noticed about their kids when they're feeling guilty or shame? Like, what can we give them as something to look at, and how do they notice? How can they notice that their child is going
I
through something?
think teens more than ever need to feel loved and accepted
Yeah.
for who they are, period.
Mm.
Not if they get an A, not if they're the star football player, not if they get a scholarship, not if they just need to feel loved, period,
Yes.
without any guilt, without any buts.
Yes. I think
They
a lot of
need
parents
hugs. And it's
hugs.
hard because teens often are like,
Mm.
and it's like, just a touch on the shoulder. It doesn't have to be a hug. It can be just a touch on the shoulder. It can
Why do
just
you have
be,
such a passionate heart for teens yourself? I know you'll always talk about teens.
I do. And I think because as a teen myself, sometimes it's all about healing ourselves, right? But I look so much, I always have loved working with teens. They're kind of my favorite age to work with. And I think it's because it's such this gap between the little kids to young adults. There's teens is the gap years.
Yes.
And if they don't have this foundation while their brains are being rewired, it's harder for them to become healthy, thriving adults.
Yes.
Okay. And I think I've shared, I'm big on learning styles and personality styles. And I talk about beavers and lions and otters and golden retrievers. And it's like, you can have a healthy otter and you can have a dysfunctional otter. We want our kids to be those functional humans that they can be and not go through life with carrying all this baggage.
Yeah. Yes. It just hurts later in life too.
It
When
just hurts later in life. And
so
we crawl through life carrying a lot of baggage.
yeah,
And it's
and
like,
I know
God,
a
if
lot
I
of,
could help teens get there into their 20s with a little lighter load, that would be fantastic.
yeah, that's what this conversation is all about. So thank you so much for being here. Molly is on all social media, so contact with her. She's got special program for teens. Her love, as you just heard, is to help teens, because when we go through something, we know what it feels like, right? When we went through something, we know what it feels like, so we can always help those people.
Mhm.
So thank you for being here, Molly. Anything else you want to add?
Thank you for having me. And I think, honestly, too, it's about healing ourselves, of letting go of our own shame and guilt. And when we do that, then we're going to have happier and healthier teens.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, those of you, for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Molly.